Hello, everybody. Thank you again for coming to see our presentation on our pole and ground mount solutions. Give this just a minute. I got a couple more people I believe will be joining us here in just a few. There is a chat box down here. Just want to make sure everybody's aware you are able to send us questions while we're doing this, and we will try and make sure we get to all your questions. Also, just wanted to make sure, can everybody hear me okay that's currently in here? Mike, are you hearing me? Great. Excellent. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is just try and give you guys an introduction to our pole and ground mount solutions, give you guys the best features that we think are going to be something that your end users, the homeowners or businesses are going to want as far as the feature, and or give you the best opportunity at selling these systems and these mounting solutions. I believe Travis is going to jump in. He's the owner. He may or may not join us. And also Gary is possibly going to be doing some information on our ground mounts today. Maybe not. If you were here on Tuesday, some of this will be redoing or refreshing kind of the same information. We do have a few new people, but we are going to dive deeper into the website today. And looking forward to going through this with you. So again, if you have questions, if we don't get to them, we will respond to you after, and we can also send you the video if you guys want us to send a video to you with the information we're sharing today. So first thing we're going to talk about is we're made in the USA. We're in Charlotte, Montana. The concept or the idea of this was born here with our owner. It was Travis Jordan, was actually working with installs with these and saw a need. So his main feature that he saw is ladder time or extra equipment and being up off the ground. If there would be an easier way to assemble these things and then pull them right up on as far as a waist level assemble, but also getting them up in position without having to be on equipment and having that much free hanging overhead weight. That was his concept and his idea. Also, the main feature with our pole mounts, the tilt adjustment, being able to adjust the tilt from the ground without having to disconnect anything, and as far as bringing in equipment to hold the array or pull the array into position. So, and with that, it's going to reduce your crane and lifting over your head, and also being on a ladder. Just in the equipment alone, it will save you money, but it's also as far as a risk, as far as injury on the site. So it's a time saver. You won't have to wait for equipment. You can get going on projects quicker, easier, and everything should be laid out. And engineering support's available to try and help you guys get through the process with getting everything set up for your site, permits, and any kind of feedback that was going to help you as far as what the county restrictions may be there. Below there on that picture is what our packaging looks like now. And just kind of making sure that you guys are aware that we're trying to streamline this process for everybody so it's cleaner when it comes to the sites, and just making it more efficient. So when it gets there, it's easy to take apart. Everything should be there with the manual. There's a little hoisty guy, and I'll challenge anybody that's watching to try and keep count how many times you see him in the presentation. We'll see what everybody comes up with at the end. So we have single or multi-pole options. One of the things I didn't call out in the last presentation, with the multi-pole, you would not need any anti-spin kits. The single pole arrays, you will want to have an anti-spin kits added with your pole mounts. It's just an extra bolt package that we have that goes up near the pole cap to keep the array from spinning with any high winds. Multi-pole gives you a lot more durability as far as expanding your arrays, and also durability underneath as far as support. And a little more manpower is going to be needed. Not necessary, but it's going to be nicer to have a person to pull to lift those things into position, get the array set. The single pole just require one person with the chain hoist and the lifting brackets. Multi-pole configurations can go up over 20 modules. This improves the wind stability, and it's built and measured for snow loads for whatever area or county, state that you're working in. Again, we have the engineering to support and help you guys as far as getting that project started, so you can have some ease of mind, at least as far as getting your wet stamps if you need stamps on it, or calculations for your county or your zones. Tilt adjustment, that's the big feature with our pole mounts. They're adjustable from the ground level. They're easy to adjust. If you've ever worked with an awning off a camper, it's kind of a similar concept, a screw adjuster that's underneath the base. Tilt adjustment can be done by one person, no extra equipment, and you can get the right angles and get the optimal production out of it. Tilts go from 5 degrees to 90 degrees, and it's great for seasonal maintenance, and just kind of giving your customers that extra effect that they have more control over the purchases that they're buying. Lets them interact with their investment. And sorry, this slide is lost the slide there. So why the ground assembly is important. We touched on it at the beginning. If you can assemble everything at the ground level, don't require ladder time. As you can see, the painting failure that's going on there, guy hanging off the roof, and his other two buddies are about to land in a very preoccupied position. The one guy's got a leg on the ladder, looks like it's going to hurt, or carrying the modules up ladders. All that's extra risk. That's just a chance of somebody getting injured. Then it takes time. It takes a lot of time to lift what they have over there with the one array up the ladder to get into position on your array or on the scaffolding. And I found out a funny story with this picture after the fact, but that is actually Travis is in that picture. And I also found out that he went down and did this install, and that's part of where he came up with there's got to be a better way. And I guess finding this out as well, that Janelle sent Travis down there to do that job, and Janelle is now working with our team. So it's kind of a funny story how that picture kind of ties together with all our company. So reducing ladder time makes the job site cleaner, reduced overhead lifting, and it's a fast assembly. We just recently went down and did a bank job. I believe it was a 40 top, and we basically assembled the main array with the rails in a day. And I just basically had it set up so the contractor that we had out there, which was Jordan Solar, was able to come in and do the modules, I believe, in a day after that too. Ground assembly will reduce your risk. The arrays and equipment ladder that you need to assemble are not going to be needed anymore. You should be able to do this as far as if you choose, assemble the array, get underneath and do the wiring, lift the array up so you can actually do the wiring underneath, and then finally hoist it into place and lock it in there with the pole cap. You'll see later I'm going to talk about the lifting brackets and the chain hoists. Those are a function that it's going to help you in the job, but it also will make this cleaner for you, but it's reusable options for you if you keep those for job after job. Hoisting from the ground, you will want the lifting bracket, and there's a photo with the arrow, and the chain hoist will attach to that. Once you have the array up in place, you remove those, put your last panel on, and then put your pole cap on. But again, keep the chain hoist, keep the lifting bracket. You can reuse them job after job as long as your pole size matches the lifting bracket. Chain hoists are nice. It's clean. Again, you're not going to actually have to get it up there with equipment to lift it. It lifts from the ground, lifts into place, and obviously it's a really safe feature for us, and it's been very beneficial. Obviously, we've never had any accidents, knock on wood. The only obstacle, you want to make sure everything's secure when you get that lifting bracket and the chain hoist in place. But it's a great, easy feature for everybody that's ever done the installs. A lot of folks here probably have, but anybody that's new, that's one of the benefits with our system. We can do our projects in challenging terrain, slopes, rocky faces. We've got stuff up in Alaska. I'll show you a photo where we work as far as getting up out of obstacles or things that could block the modules. The tilt, again, as far as being able to get up to finish that last panel, you have that option there. But a lot of folks in the industry tell us that we're one of the few that will actually work with them in some of these areas as far as a sloping terrain or something that's more challenging. We have the team and support on the backside with our engineers that can help you take care of that. Pole mount feature is our ability to get our mounts higher than anybody else out there. I won't say everybody, but 30 feet tall is what we send up to Alaska. That's to help as far as keeping clearance over obstacles, be it snow that builds up. We have some places that get over 10 feet of snow in the higher elevations. So the ground clearance is a major feature for us, and being on a big sell point for anybody out there. It avoids interference as far as shrubs, trees, or anything that might grow up. Not all trees, obviously, but it helps with the slower debris. The single pole with our pole mounts and the multi-pole, you only have one row of poles, so it makes it easier to maintain underneath these. A lot of the other mounts that are out there, as far as our ground mount competitors, they have a lot of different things that are basically turning into obstacles, and it makes it difficult to keep things clear underneath this. One row of poles, it's cleaner, it looks nicer, and it's just easier to maintain underneath. And then there are also options for pole spacings. Lydia brought up a point after the last presentation that we've done some custom work for folks that can get these arrays up high so you can park tractors and other things underneath these. And actually we use them for carports on parking garage and stuff as well. Manuals are online. We will show you that a little later on our website. They're under the downloads. We have them for our single pole and multi-pole and the ground mounts. There's spec sheets that are available as well. So also with this, we also have our naming guide that kind of like, I guess, decode what our process is as far as how we name our pole mounts. The first number on this slide on the pole mount will tell us the size of the pole, 6, 8, 10 inch. And then top of pole is what the top stands for. And then how many modules. If there's any call out for as far as our arrays with the pole mounts, can be 3, 4, or 5 in rows, and all of our pole mounts, they are in portrait. I'm sorry, no, they are in landscape. And standard, heavy duty, extra heavy duty is going to be as far as our standards, just our basic amount as far as our steel that's required for the mount. Heavy duty and extra duty is just going to be a little more steel to actually make it a little more robust for higher wind and snow loads. And then extra heavy duty is going to be basically the most robust system that you can get. We want to make sure you guys are aware that we can do up to wind speeds of 170 miles, and we have snow loads up over 170 PSF. So flexibility as far as being able to work in just about any environment, we're probably one of the few out there, and just want to make sure we call that out so you guys are aware if you're in off-grid situations, need extra help with some sort of challenging area, we're probably going to be one of the few that can actually help you there. So with the support, we have our engineer that works with us on staff. We have basically our site calculator is going to be available for you if you have your components as far as your wind, snow, what the soil composite's going to be. That will show a little more, and Lydia will dive a little deeper into that to show you how that feature works. And there's a transition with that that's really neat. So once you enter your components, if you have everything in there and you like it, you can go right to the cart and basically add the setup. It will take you right to that. We have our internal calculator that we use that will call out what your requirements are going to be for the site. And then as far as on the right is a engineered photo of our top single pole mount that will give you the breakdown of all the components within our mounts. And that can be available if you guys need any extra information as far as what's coming to you and keeping everything straight for you. Custom project designs, we have different array layouts. Just have to make sure we run them through our engineer team to make sure we're allowing for any extra overhang and calculating what the extra weight is going to be added to the pole for doing anything custom. We talked about the carports. That's actually one of the jobs that we did here in Missoula, and it's basically on a bank for their employees for parking to give them shade as a carport. And then somebody also put up an array over their pool. So the array configurations can be customized, and special projects, again, we welcome them. We invite you to challenge us a little there. We'll always tell you if we can't do it, but for the most part, we're pretty flexible and able to handle just about any project that comes our way. Now I'm going to go on to the ground mounts, and with the ground mounts, just a little bit about our setup. Now, everything is coming with these kits. That's basically everything you're ordering is going to have the beams, going to have the rail, and all the mid clamps, end clamps, whatever's going to be required as far as putting that thing together from the ground up. They're cost effective. It's a fixed mounting solution. Again, the complete package comes. We'll have the W beams. Kind of ran through all this already, but there's options to source your own post if you want to so choose to find your own post locally. It may save you a little bit in shipping, but below is what our package product is going to look like. There's various tilt options available. The tilt options are 20 to 50 degrees, and any angle that you're looking for, and they have a low footprint. Again, it's a single row of these W beams, so it's going to be a cleaner look and easier to maintain underneath. And again, everything coming together with that, and with the support on the backside, these things pretty easily laid out and easy for everybody to assemble. Talking a little bit more about underneath these with a single array, that's a cleaner. It's easier maintenance than what we have on the other side with some of our competitors. They have a lot more obstacles, a lot more. In this case, it looks like there's some square beams that are in there. As far as the spider web clearance, it's cluttered. It doesn't look as clean. There's more as far as possibly getting confused with what's going on with the setup versus what you're looking on the left with our ground mount solution, where it's just a one row, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Our ground mounts are named very similar to what our pole mounts are. So the naming guide again is available for you, but a B6, which will be a 6x9, and a B8, which is an 8x10 ground mount for GM, how many modules or solar panels you're going to be using, and the size, 60 cell, 72 cell, or 96 cell. And it's standard, heavy duty, extra heavy duty. Again, standard is just what the basic is, and heavy duty is a little more, and extra heavy duty is the most robust you're going to get for a system. Spacing, again, is available. If you need different spacings, we can do custom work with our ground mounts as far as spacing as well. Types of foundations that we work with, we have a concrete pier, driven pile, base plates. We will work with other options if you're trying to look for a different solution as far as your foundation type. We can do custom work with ballast blocks, helical screws, ground screws, and there's others. Again, we welcome anything that's out there to try and give us a shot with those, and trying to make this as clean as possible for you. So George had a question, and I missed it earlier, so I apologize. So I'll stop for just a second. What is the 30-foot attachment for guide wires? I don't really have the answer for that right now, George, but we will try and get to you that answered here after the presentation. Online project calculators. Again, with the ground mount, it's pretty streamlined, and Lydia's going to dive deeper into this a little later. This is a photo of what our ground mount calculator will look like. Just getting your basic information with the panel size, the quantities. It will give you a suggestion as far as what size beams you're going to need, post sized, how deep you're going to need to go, and basically trying to overlay what you're going to be required with our system and what your site would need for as far as being set up before the mount arrives. So with the transition from calculator, after you designed or put in your configurations, it will tell you what size ground mount you should use, and it will transition you over to our cart, where you can add that to the cart. And then on the right side, it will show what our ordering system looks like. You'll have 4 drop downs to fill in, but again, it will all basically transfer right over from our calculator after you've entered your information. We'll go a little more into that next. So in-house engineering, again, same support, and then we have some spacing guidelines that we can help you with as well. Apologize, on the one on the left is actually a pole mount spacing, but it's very similar with our ground mounts as far as putting the array on your pole or your beam spacing, post spacing. Calculators, and then we also have our guides. You can get engineering support as far as PE stamp site specific drawings. They are provided with our ground mounts, and then foundation calculator. Again, it's on our internal and also on our website. So that is going to conclude what we're talking about with our ground and pole mounts. I will now be switching over to the website here, so bear with me one second when I make the quick transition. Sorry, that took a little longer than I wanted. So our website, as you're coming into our website, the first thing that we want you to do is obviously have an account and log in with your account. what we have there is everybody that is signed up with an account will have your pricing that's specific for your company. So you'll have the pricing, and a new feature that has actually came up is we've started a sales chat. So if you have anything that's a really pressing question, you can reach us through this chat now on our website as well. We won't be using him today in this presentation, so I'm going to close him out. So the first thing after you've logged into your account, if you're looking to start a project, we invite you to go to one of the pole or ground mount options. Lydia will guide you through those here in just a moment, but I'm going to show you where our manuals are to start. All of our manuals are under the download, under the plan your project. And you can select any of these, download them off the site, the ground mounts on there. These are all the installations, just to try and help you if you need something, especially if you're out in the field. This is a good reference point for you to find this information as you need it. The next thing is we have some obvious questions. We don't have to go too deep into it, but any questions in here that might be able to answer something quick for you, you can obviously come through here and see if there's something that might relate to one of your questions. And the next thing with our ordering, and we'll go through that after Lydia goes through the ground and pole mount calculators. So I'm going to turn it over to Lydia right now. Lydia, are you there?
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today. We're super excited about this new website. We launched it about a month ago and have continued to keep updating it because we want to make this experience as user-friendly for you guys. We want you to be able to get your quotes, get your mount, go through all those steps so that you can install these mounts for your end user customers and meet their expectations. So basically on our website, we have a pole mount calculator and a new ground mount calculator. The pole mount calculator, we will start with that one today. For those of you that have used the website before, you'll notice it looks a little bit different. It functions exactly the same. There's just a couple added new features that will be more helpful for you. But the inputs that we're asking for and to help decide on that pole size and that frame duty is what we're going to go through today. So if you could just scroll up a little bit, Ryan. So what we're designing each mount for is the loads that are at the installation site. So this includes your wind loads, your snow loads, and also just how tall off the ground you expect this array to be installed at. So for those loads, the best way to get what you'll exactly need for the installation site is to reach out to the local jurisdiction. This is also known as the authority having jurisdiction, AHJ, building codes, permitting. But they're going to be your best resource to figure out what the inputs are. But let's say that they're hard to reach, which sometimes is the case, or you just are looking to do a quick quote from one of your customers. Or for a project that a customer wants you to install and you're just getting started. Well, we put a link in there for a free website tool, and that just asks you for your city and zip, and based on that, it'll give you the loads that you can put into the calculator. And that is just kind of sponsored by the International Building Code, what they've decided, that the loads throughout the US about what they need to be. So for areas that have really high snow loads, so mountains of Colorado, up here in northern Montana, we get some high snow loads, or areas along the coast where you get really high winds. Those areas it's a great option to reach out to us. You can definitely use the calculator. But for those more extreme environments, if you want to feel a little bit more comfortable about what you're going to be purchasing, always feel free to reach out to us and we can just verify that you have filled out the inputs correctly and that you're ordering what you should be. So with this calculator, you can start with the name or company, fill that in, email, put your email, your project name. And this section, the project name, is useful because after you do all your inputs, there is a print all option that is on the top of the page. And that's a great way to save it as a PDF or print it, whatever you prefer. And with having that project name on there, it will remind you in a few months or in a few weeks when you go back to either install this project or answer some questions to your customers. That's a great resource. And so once you fill out those three things, then you get into the bread and butter. This is the inputs. This is what we're designing the system for. And so the options are start with the module size. And we do support other module sizes that aren't the normal dimensions. Like, for example, I know there's a couple modules out there that are 81 inches instead of the regular 78 for a 72 cell. And those you can just reach out to us and we'll make sure you're still getting the right mount. We definitely support that, but with those situations, we want to make sure that we're providing the right mount. So if your module size is not on there or doesn't meet the dimensions shown, feel free to reach out via the chat or email, and we can help you out with those types of problems. So for the pole mount model, it shows anywhere from our smallest arrays, which is the top two, all the way up to the larger multi-pole arrays. So on our website, you can only purchase top 50. Anything that has more than 50 modules will be considered a custom array. So just to keep going through the calculator, the tilt, this is the maximum tilt that you expect it to be at. And often for most locations, that will be in the winter if there is a snow load. And that is just kind of when the wind is going to be the largest factor. And you just want to make sure that if you do have a snow load of over 50 PSF, we recommend that the tilt has to be greater than 30 degrees. And that's just kind of what our mounts are designed for. And we can always add a pole. We can, and you can definitely play around with the calculator and it'll show you what you can do, but that's just what we recommend. So front edge ground clearance is the distance from the ground to the lowest point on the array. So people install them anywhere from 1 foot to 10 feet off the ground. Yesterday, I was working on a project that was 10 feet off the ground because it was getting installed at an elementary school, so they had to keep it out of the kids' way. And that is, with our pole mounts, one of the greatest options for flexibility. We really like when people install them a little bit higher than the 1 foot because that's when they look the best. And it just gives your customers, or you if you're installing it at your own home, the option to mow under it, plant a garden under it, just use that space that's underneath it. And so we really want to support that with our pole mount. And another thing to keep in mind with front edge ground clearance is if you're in an area that has high snow loads, so let's say your ground snow load is greater than 70 PSF, you want to make sure you're accounting for that snow buildup on the ground and then also what is sliding off of the array. So we recommend if you have a snow load over 50 PSF to put your front edge clearance at least greater than 3 feet. So wind speed, that's a pretty self-explanatory one. And then the next option is the exposure category. So this relates to the area surrounding the installation site. And as you go through the selections, B, C, or D, to the right, it gives you a suggestion of what it is. Most areas are going to be B or C. B is when it's more a wooded area or it's in a suburban area. C is you're thinking more it's out at a farm that's next to an open plain, or it's on a ridge top. That's going to be that option C. D is if you're next to the water, and those really aren't too common yet. But so you'll probably be looking for B or C. So the other important change that was made with our pole mount calculator is we are now accounting for tilt and how that reduces the snow load that's put on the array. Basically, through building code, we are able to treat a pole mount as a roof, and it's a slippery roof, so that snow is going to slide off. So the steeper that you put the tilt, the more likely the snow is to slide off. So with this, you want to put the ground snow load in. Some areas, the jurisdiction usually will always provide the ground snow load. And so this is what you want to be putting in, and the calculator will automatically reduce that for tilt. The option with our pole mount is you can go with or without rails. That is not an option with our ground mount. Ground mounts, they all include rails just for easeability. But with our pole mount, we want to support multiple rails. So you can choose to add them or not add them there. And the reason that we're asking this here is so that way when we are telling you the product that you're going to be purchasing, it's either adding those or not adding those. And then pole size desired, I suggest using AutoCalc, but sometimes your customers might already have a pole installed. They will need to maybe replace an old pole mount. So you have the pole, but you're not sure how that will work. Well, that was when you would use the pole size desired. But if you're just coming in for a new quote or anything like that, just leave it as it's set at AutoCalc, and we will suggest you the smallest pole, so the most cost effective for your project. Foundation, that's going to be the same as it always was. Through this calculator, we support square, round, concrete embedments. There are a couple different foundation options for the pole mounts too, and just reach out to those with us. And we have an engineering firm that we work with too for a lot of these foundations to make sure we're getting you what you need at your site, so it will last as long as it possibly can. And then soil, that's going to be you as the installer or questioning the owner of the site, just learning more about what that soil is so that the foundation could be estimated based on that. A great resource for this is if a building was recently built on the site, usually they're required to do a geotechnical report, and that's a great place to start if you really have no idea. Your local jurisdiction also might be able to provide some recommendations based on where you're located in their jurisdiction area to help you get that soil classification right. So once you fill out all the inputs, and if you're just looking for a mount, you only need to fill out that top input section. If you're looking in addition to the mount and the foundation recommendation, then you want to fill it all out. So for this instance, we filled it all out. At this point, if I was doing this for my project, I would save it with that project name and save it somewhere where I can find it later. And that's where I can go and reference it. Because with all the projects we're all working on, it always gets confusing. So this is a great way to keep it clean and remember what you did. So once you get all this, the outputs kind of shows the standard outputs that we've always had. And the most useful one that we're going to just go over today is the SKU. So this is the SKU that correlates with the naming guide that Ryan showed us earlier. And so this is exactly what you want. And where this was shown in our last pole mount calculator, it's super nice. It's right there. Well, now the great new feature is that if you scroll up or to the bottom of the page, there's a go to product button. And so when you click on that, it's going to take you exactly to what that SKU is. So we'll just wait while it loads. And so now you can see we're going to get taken right to that web page. It's got our right module size, pole size, use duty, and whether you did or did not include the rails. And so this is just the easiest, fastest way to do it. And then from here, you can either choose to quote it or add it to your cart. And Ryan will talk us through those steps later. So that is a good summary of the pole mount calculator. And so I'm just looking through the questions here. So Mike had a question about snow loads higher than 100 pounds. So for those ones, it is best to, I'll show, this link will come up a little bit later in the presentation. Basically with those, you just want to reach out to us and we take those on a case-by-case basis. And so with these calculators, as I said earlier, there are limitations. For those sites where wind and snow loads get pretty high, we like to look more in depth at what you're going to be ordering. So that way we make sure you're getting the right mount. So that is the pole mount calculator. And so now we're going to switch and look at the ground mount calculator. And we're not going to go through and talk through because the inputs are exactly the same for the most part. The one difference is that, for the front edge clearance, with the ground mounts, it's going to be a lot lower. Our pole mounts are meant to be higher in the air or lower, whichever you prefer. But if you're looking for a lower array to the ground, we would suggest our ground mount. And so this front edge clearance, this unit is in inches. And so anything 36 inches or less we support. Anything greater than 36 inches, that's where it's going to fall into a custom project range. So you can see with the ground mount, the inputs are the same. With the foundation calculator here, we support driven posts or post concrete embedment. Other foundations that Ryan talked about earlier in the presentation, those we can support too, but we just ask that you reach out to us because we just need a little bit more information. And so same thing with the ground mount. Once you get it all filled out, it'll have the option to either save it or you can follow that link to go to it. So with the ground mount, since it is kind of a new product for people, we have added a nice diagram on the bottom of the page. And so if we open this, it's basically going to have all those outputs that are listed on the web page, but in a format here where you can just kind of reference and go back and forth. So this is, if you're wondering what some of the outputs mean, this is a great place to start and see if you can figure it out from there. So one thing I did want to go over with the ground mount is it also has the skew. And so we're just going to play around with this one and change some of the inputs. So if you're looking at the output, we'll start with the input. So if you're kind of looking at it, we've got wind speed of 100, ground snow load 12 PSF, and this is going to be a ground mount 12, so 12 modules. And so in the outputs, you can see it's calling for 2 posts. You've got the post spacing in there, and then that skew. Well, let's say that your snow load is actually closer to 40 or 50 PSF. So you can see there that since that snow is going to be putting a lot higher load on the array, we're going to need to add an extra post. And so that's where this calculator is really helpful in showing you kind of the multiple options for a certain quantity of modules. And then it also is going to automatically do it. So if you are changing around the inputs, you can just keep clicking that go to product and it can show you the different pricing and stuff like that, or you can play around with it on this web page. So then the other thing I wanted to show with the ground mount calculator is let's say you have a ground snow load of like 90. Well, we probably would not usually recommend our ground mount for that. We would say pole mount, but it will fall into that custom category. So if any of the inputs really don't fit what the ground mount is designed for, you're going to get an output that says change the inputs, or let's change that ground snow load back to 10. And then let's say the module quantity is 24. So, and then, sorry, could you put the ground snow load back to 50? So you can see here, like with this array of 24 modules, once you get into the higher snow loads, with the ground mounts, there's a big balance of cantilever and post spacing. And so on this one, with this high of a snow load, the ground mount 24 isn't the best option. If you probably went up to 30 or down to 12, it would work. But so let's say you're stuck to the 24 modules. So if you see custom, that basically just means that we're going to have to make a custom part for you on the website to order. And that is something we fully want to support, but it just will take a couple extra steps from you. So if you see that custom, or if it gives you the output to reach out to us, you can always play around with your inputs, and maybe changing those will help you get a product that is just readily available on the site. And so for those, if it is custom, when you click that go to product button, it's going to take you to a project information form. And so this is a part, this is a good way for us to gather all of your information super clearly, and a good place to start if you are in one of those high load areas. And basically we'll just ask for your regular information and what you want to do for your project. There's a comment section, and you just want to submit this, and then we can take a look at your specific project and make sure we're fitting your needs. And so with this project information form, those of you that have worked with us before, you might have been sent to that page for engineering drawings. So I am responsible for kind of being that mediator to get you a stamped engineering drawing for your pole mount or ground mount. And so with that project information form, that is how you will go about and get the stamped drawing. And so we offer a stamped drawing in Calcs. The drawing is $5.95. Calcs and drawing is $7.45. And if you're wondering, like, I've never gotten a stamp, do I need that? You probably don't, and it really is dependent on the jurisdiction. So the local jurisdiction will be your decider whether or not you'll need a stamped engineering drawing to get it installed or not. Areas like California, New York, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, they require that stamped drawing. Other areas like Montana or North Dakota, South Dakota, they're not requiring a stamped drawing. So that really is an option for you. And also sometimes just homeowners or whoever you're installing this for, the end use customer, sometimes they just like to have it. And it is a great resource to just have. And it really just supports our product out in the field even more. So I think that finishes up my presentation for you guys on using the calculators. And I hope these tools are super useful for you. And really this should be, if you haven't ordered before, this should be one of the first steps to get you started on our website, understanding what kind of mounts are available for your conditions. And then Ryan can help walk us back through the website. So once you would use these calculators, you can get taken to that page. And from there, he's going to talk us through how to finalize the quote or put an order in.
Thank you, Lydia. So Mike had a question, just to circle back. Yes, Mike, if this goes over 100 pounds of PSF on the snow, it will go into the custom, as she talked about. Our calculator will not go over 100, so it would push you into the custom side. So appreciate the questions. Keep them coming. So one last thing on this as well, you are able to print off, even if it is custom, your specs, and you could save that and also forward that to us if you want us to look at that. But we really want to advise you to do the project form. It helps us out immensely. It will save a lot of questions if you can get that filled out for us ahead of time. So after you've made a selection as far as what you put in for your customs and what you're needing for your site, you can go to the submit button out of this form, but you can also go right to it as far as going to order. But this will take you right into what your components are as far as your mod sizes, pole sizes, use, standard, heavy duty, extra heavy duty. Pole sizes with the top 12 or options are 6, 8, and 10-inch pole. And then we also have the modules 60 cell, 72 cell, or 96 cell. Again, with pole mount, you have the option with or without the rail. Ground mounts, it comes with our rail system. So with that, you have a photo of the array, and you can also get a 3D view. I don't know if if everybody's seen this option, but you can rotate this around so you can see this array from any direction, and it will give you your length and width of your array. So if you have any questions with that as well, and then the panel sizes that we have as far as our standard sizes are on there as for a reference for you to try and give you the best, I guess, the most information that you can possibly take to help you take it to your customer, your site, to make sure you're communicating everything properly. This is a great tool so somebody can get a visual of what they think they're going to be looking at in regards to how a person might line up to that. I believe the height of that person that's being referenced is our Travis Jordan here, so we'll have to give you his height later on. So once you have your information in there, you want to enter this to your cart. And I lost my pole mount. There we are. Add to cart. And you can do your checkout from that point. When we're in, there we go. Go to checkout. We have the option to add their chain hoist. Driving back to that, there's also a location to add on the lifting bracket, which I'll show you that in just a moment as well. We will get your billing and your shipping address where you want to have it shipped to, but we have multiple options for carriers now. Also trying to call that out. So you have different options in regards to where you're delivering to. If it's going to a site and requires a lifting gate as far as getting this off the truck, or if it's going to a commercial location that has its own way of unloading the truck. 2 different price options built right in there for you. When you go to check out, and I apologize, this is a little slower, you'll have your information for billing. Just have that information readily available to get to the next part, which is your shipping location where you're shipping it to. You'll check through those 2 options and it'll get you your options to pay. So if you have an account set up with us, you can set it up to be invoiced. You can pay with a bank transfer, or you can pay with a credit card on the backside. And it looks like I need to have my information here. I apologize. This is probably not the best ship to location, so I'm actually going to change to Missoula. There we go. Sorry about that. Pick your shipping option, and then down here is where you can pay with an e-check from your bank, credit card. If you're going to pay with a check, you also can have it saved as a quote. And so this is an option to have it sent to your, if you have your email preset in there as far as the contact person, this will send you a quote. That quote will come back to us that you're looking for the quote. The shipping will not be on that initial quote. So if you want to have the shipping quote as well, just send us a quick message and we'll follow up with the shipping to be sent out right shortly after, once we hear that you want that shipping quote as well. Pricing's more for reference for you guys when you're in the field. The other thing with our site that I wanted to go back to is the add-ons. So when you're in your cart, you have the option, or basically when you're putting stuff in on the order section, you can add the lifting bracket right here, depending upon if it's going to be a square or a round lifting bracket. Pole sizes under 6 inches, 4 inches or 2 inches will be a round, and square will be 6 inches up to 10. And the last thing I wanted to go over, so if you know all your specifications and you're just you're going to order a standard, or if you know you need a heavy duty for a certain project, you can come in and order direct. You can bypass the calculator and enter that information yourself. It's simple. There's only 4 drop downs that you have to answer, which we've shown you just briefly, but all that can be right there for you as far as the module size, pole size, and the use duty as far as standard, heavy duty, extra heavy duty, and with or without rail. And you can add as many as you want into the cart and build that in there. Set up what you need for chain hoist. If you have multiple poles, you need an extra lifting bracket for 2 poles. If you got 3 poles, you'll need 3 lifting brackets. Same with the chain hoists. So that is where I'm going to end this today. I'm hoping that is beneficial to everybody. Again, if there's any questions, I want to give you guys time to please ask us any questions now. And again, we will follow up if we can't answer it right now, but we do appreciate everybody joining us today. Was there any last questions? I will get back to you, Mike, on the guide wires. And let's see. I think we got everybody else? Why use ground mount versus pole mount? It's a great question, Chuck. The main reason we were going to pull out the pole mount is we have more adjustability as far as the tilt adjust. But the ground mount is going to have everything included with it. It's a cost effective. If the end user just wants something that's basically a basic mount, it's going to be something that's going to give you, sorry, you just shot another question. If you're doing a fixed ground mount, what do you recommend for the angle? Lydia, I'm going to let you jump in on that question. You still available?
So 2 components kind of go into that. The first is what's optimized for your site. So whatever's going to give you the maximum production, whether you're designing for in the winter solstice, that being your maximum production using that tilt, or whatever time of year you want your maximum production to be. That is a good rule of thumb. We always kind of suggest your latitude is a great place to start if you're just playing around. And then also which goes with the tilt is your snow and wind loads. So kind of how those interact with the mount, that'll also be a good option. So really for the ground mount, we recommend 30, 35 degrees. That works most places in the United States. And that's a good place to start.
Thank you, Lydia. Chuck, the ground mounts, all that comes with it. So it's all included in the package as far as the rails. So that also makes it a lot easier for installers. Everything will be there. You won't have to go source beams. You have the option to source the beams. There's benefits to both, but cost-effective solution. It's a little cheaper, obviously, to go with the ground mount versus our pole with all the extras that we have with the tilt adjust and height. There's going to be extra cost that's going to be involved in getting higher heights, and also as far as the tilt adjuster, the screw adjusters, and extra components that go with that. Hopefully that answered your question. Larry, thank you for the comment, and we'll forward this presentation out to everybody. Again, I appreciate your time. If there's any other questions, we can let you all go. Thank you for bearing with us and all this, and look forward to working with all of you. Oh, Gary wanted to give a call out. He's going to be doing a U.S. tour and going to also have an option to reach him on Facebook. So he'll be traveling around the country. And if you guys would like to see if maybe he can come by your location, definitely reach out as well, too. We'll hopefully get a link up on our website shortly just to kind of keep track of where he's at, because he may need us to actually let him know where he's at, too, while he's traveling. So thanks again, everybody. We will talk to you all later.